What's going on, guys? We'll go back with another War Within video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We just got an absolute bombshell of a patch note that dropped about the upcoming PTR. Well, not the PTR, but the 11.0.5 patch that's not coming for like quite a while, like several months from now. So there are some massive changes for Elemental Shaman. I'm going to go over them today. Like complete, like a mini rework basically of the spec once again. So we haven't even really been able to try the current rework that happened, which we've been able to try it on the beta and stuff, but like we've just got into the game now and they're already going to make massive changes. Now I want to do a really big disclaimer here that this is not happening until probably November. It's not the patch right now. The talents that we have right now are going to stay the way they are for several months. Okay, this is happening in the future. Okay, there is a tree right here that I'm going to be looking at, and we're gonna go through this together. I'm going to work my way down from the top of the tree all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to tell you about what's changing, and we're just going to do that because it's a lot simpler. Okay, first and foremost, there are some class and spec changes, or hero tree changes. So Sky Fury costs less mana, don't really care. Ascendance models have been updated. If you haven't seen those yet, they're on Wowhead. I'm kind of have mixed feelings about them, but it's, you know, whatever. Shamans can now float on water when they're in Ascendant form. Might be good for PvP. Mana Spring no longer has an aura displaying. Updated visuals for Lava Burst. That sounds really cool, actually. Primordial Wave has a new icon. We will look at that. It's down here. You can already see it, okay? Farseer. Elemental Blasts from Ancestors now prioritize your most recently attacked target. That's good, because sometimes they were just throwing Ele Blasts at random people. I don't know why. Ancestors now prefer to Chain Lightning your target when you cast Chain Lightning, or the targeted version of Earthquake, so that's good. Ancestors are now summoned with an equipped, with a Historic Shaman set. Sounds kind of cool, actually. They have a little Historic Shaman set there. Okay, Stormbringer. New talent, Lightning Conduit. You have a chance to get struck by lightning, increasing your movement speed by 50% for 5 seconds. This effectiveness increased to 100% outdoors. That's this right here. So there's a new choice node here. This is actually just a brand new choice node in general. So Tempest can either increase your movement speed by 20%, which is cool, or you can have this whole, you have a chance to randomly be struck by lightning thing. Tempest increasing your movement speed is pretty good, actually, in my opinion, by 5%. That is a big deal. New talent, yep. And then Storm Spell's been redesigned. Tempest now grants mastery for 6 seconds. I believe that's here. So the numbers aren't really good. It gives you 10% more mastery for 6 seconds. That is really good, actually. That's your overload chance, right? And if that's a flat 10%, that's pretty good. Now, Supercharge is also very strong and has been changed slightly. It says Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have a 50% increased chance to overload. That is really different from what it was before. It used to say, well, right now on live, it says Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning have the overloads have a chance to overload again. So you have to trigger an overload first in order to have a chance to get this second overload from Supercharge. But in the future, in patch 11.0.5, it's going to be that your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning just always have a 50% increased chance to overload. That is a really big deal. That is going to be a lot of overloads. And we're going to see, once we get to some cool reworks like Ascendance, wink wink, that overloading is a new theme. Not a new theme, but it's something that Blizzard is doubling down on. They really want to invest into overloads. That's a huge part of what they're doing with this rework, okay? They're also, very obviously to me, they're trying to double down on the hybrid nature of Ele Shaman. So they're really trying to make it so that you're not just pressing one element like Lava Burst into Flame Shocks and that kind of thing with a Fire Ele, or you're not just pressing Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt. They want you to be mixing and matching all the elements together. That's definitely what they're trying to go for here, okay? Surging Currents has been redesigned. That's down here. When you cast Tempest, your Surging Currents increasing the effectiveness of your next Chain Heal or Healing Surge by 20% up to 100%. Or you can just get the damage reduction. 3% damage reduction with Lightning Shield on. That is a massive deal. That is definitely the one you're going to want to take, I believe. Right now, it's targets struck by Tempest deal 10% less damage to you. Or now you're just going to get 3% less damage taken with lightning shield on. That's massive. 3% DR is huge. It's huge. Really, really big deal there. Unlimited power tooltip, blah, 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 doesn't really matter. Shocking Grasp has been removed. Good. Shocking Grasp was the when your lightning spells like crit, you slow people. Doesn't really matter. Enhancement doesn't matter. Okay, let's get to the Ellie Shaman stuff. Now, I'm not just going to read through the list. I'm going to walk you through the tree and how it works, okay? So, first and foremost, Earthshock and Ellie Blast haven't changed at all. The Earthquakes haven't changed at all. Elemental Fury is the same. Our elementals have changed in a pretty big way, to be honest. So, they only last for 20 seconds now, okay? They used to last for 30 seconds. And look at the Storm Elemental tooltip here. While Storm Elemental is active, casting Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning increases your haste by 4%, stacking up to 4 times. So this is a really big deal. This used to increase the cast speed of your Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt, right? Up to 10 times. But now it only has to stack up to 4 times, and it gives you a haste buff. So this is a really big deal. Basically, the Storm Elemental like buff used to take a really long time. I mean, currently in the game, I keep saying used to, but you know what I mean. It takes a long time to get stacked up to 10. So then by the time you get all the way stacked up to 10 and your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning are really fast, it feels really good, but the pack is already dead, basically. Now, you're going to stack this new haste buff, which affects all of your abilities, not just Chain Lightning or Lightning Bolt. And you can stack it really quickly. It only stacks 4 times, and it gives you 16% more haste once you're fully stacked up. That is a huge deal. A massive buff, in my opinion, for how Storm Elemental worked. Really, really cool. They've also said in the passive, I'm going to do a passive note here. When your main Storm Elemental dies, if you have like Echo of the Elementals and you get the extra elemental after, you do not lose the buff. So right now on live, once your main elemental dies and you get the new lesser elemental, you have to start stacking up the buff again. That is not going to be the case in 11.0.5. The haste buff that you get from your main Storm Elemental will persist when your lesser elemental comes out. So that's a huge deal as well. You get to maintain that haste buff for an even longer period of time. These lesser elementals now last for 10 seconds, by the way, instead of 8 seconds on the live servers right now. So essentially what happened was, instead of getting a 30-second Storm Ellie and then an 8-second lesser elemental, you get a 20-second Storm Ellie and a 10-second lesser. So 30 seconds in total. But the buff that you get persists through those elementals. So it's probably actually like a net buff, especially on the buff that you're getting. This haste buff that you're going to be getting. This is a really big deal. I want to make sure I emphasize that a lot. Okay. We'll talk more about the elementals in a minute. Aftershock and Surge of Power are the exact same as they were. Okay. Lava Burst getting another charge is the same. Master of the Elements is the same. Okay. Stormkeeper has now moved up. Stormkeeper used to be way down here in the middle where Ascendance is now. So Stormkeeper has moved up to the top. This is a really big change right here. Flash of Lightning no longer reduces the cooldown of our nature spells. And this actually made me incredibly sad when I saw this. Casting Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning reduces the cooldown of your nature spells. That included stuff like Ancestral Swiftness, Primordial Wave, Stormkeeper, Storm Ellie, all of your defensive buttons, right? Like your Stone Bulwark Totem and your Ancestral Guidance. Right here for the extra healing, and your Astral Shift. They're getting rid of this. This is now gone. Honestly, when I read this, I kind of felt like my entire Farseer build that I cooked up was now like dead, because it really relies on cooling down Primordial Wave and Ancestral Swiftness. And they have not added in that cooldown reduction to any other talent that I can see. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've scoured around all these different talents and I don't see anywhere in any of the hero trees or the spec trees or anywhere where you get that cooldown reduction back again. So to me, this is a massive L. I think that this was the defining feature of the Farseer tree for me, was that you could cool down your Primordial Wave and your Ancestral Swiftness, and that's what helped you summon your ancestors. Like, this is a huge blow to the Farseer tree, and I really hope that Blizzard either puts it back into the game somehow or massively buffs the Farseer tree, because it is going to be much worse now without having that cooldown reduction to those spells. Like, it's not even, it won't even be the same tree. It's probably not even worth running. In 11.0.5, this Farseer tree will not be worth running, in my opinion, versus the Stormbringer tree because of this change. It is a huge deal. So I'm really, really sad about that. I don't know why Blizzard's getting rid of that. It makes actually no sense. Like, just if it's like if cooling down all the defensive stuff is way too powerful, then just get rid of that part of it. But please, for the love of God, keep the other stuff. The Primordial Wave cooldown reduction and the Ancestral Swiftness cooldown reduction was really fun to play around. That was a fun gameplay loop. It was the main reason I wanted to play Farseer Shaman, is because I will still be playing it, of course, in the beginning of season 1. But anyway, very, very bummed out by this change. I think this is a huge change, bad change from Blizzard. Stormkeeper is here. Ice Fury we're going to get to in a minute. Storm Frenzy has not changed. Swelling Maelstrom has not changed. Primordial Fury is the same. There's a new choice note here. This used to be Flow of Power, which gave your Lava Burst and Lightning Bolt more Maelstrom generation. That's gone now. Now it says casting Stormkeeper summons a powerful lightning elemental to your side. So that used to be, that was in the tree already, right down here. Fury of the Storms. Okay, so that did just move that up here. Or you can have Herald of the Storms. Casting Lightning Bolt or Chain Lightning reduces the cooldown of Stormkeeper by 2 seconds. This is kind of like the Flash of Lightning cooldown reduction, but you're only getting it on Stormkeeper now. So again, massive L from Blizzard. This Herald of the Storms talent might be really cool for getting you back your Stormkeeper for sure, but you also probably just want the other Ellie. This is a good choice note, I think. You have to see what you want to do. I do believe if you have this Ellie out, he will maintain your haste buff. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. We'll have to wait and see, but either way, that's actually a good choice note now, and Flow of Power is gone. Elemental Unity is the same. You get 10% more damage depending on which elemental you have out. Flames of the Cauldron is the same. Your Everlasting Elements is the same. Improved Flame Tongue is the same. Lightning Conduit is the same. Power of the Maelstrom is the exact same. Earth and Rage is the same. Okay? Thunderstrike Ward is the same. Searing Flames has not changed. There's a new talent here, Earth Shatter. Increases Earth Shock and Earthquake damage by 8%, and then the stat bonus granted by LE Blast by 25%. To me, I feel like the bonus to the stats needs to be like at least 75% or 100%. This 25% nonsense is like really bad, in my opinion, because 25% of 3% is like an additional 0.75% or something, right? It's 0.75%. So you're going to get, instead of getting 3% crit, you're going to get 3.75% crit or haste. Your mastery is a little bit better. It'll go from 5.6% bonus to like 7% bonus, but I just don't get it. Like 25% is too low. Make it 50, make it 75%. Make it worth taking this talent and worth taking Elemental Blast, because right now Elemental Blast is just a worse pick versus Earthshock, like by a mile, by a long shot. So I don't get it. This needs to be buffed, I think, in my opinion. Okay, let's go to Ice Fury here. This has been changed in a big way. So Ice Fury now says your Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, or Chain Lightning have a chance to replace your next Frost Shock with Ice Fury. It used to just be Lava Burst. Only Lava Burst had a chance to proc this. So you're now going to have a much higher chance of procking this thing because it comes from lots of different spells, okay, instead of just one spell. It can still stack up to 2 times, but it only buffs your next Frost Shock, not your next 2 Frost Shocks, okay? And here's what it does. When you throw your Ice Fury, it causes your next Frost Shock to deal 150% damage. This used to be 225% damage. So the damage has gone down a bit. And then it generates less additional Maelstrom, 7 instead of 10. But it splashes to 4 additional targets. So we're getting the Frost Shock Cleave is coming back for Ellie Shaman the way that it used to be back in like Shadowlands kind of thing, right? So that's pretty cool. So your Frost Shock will now cleave, and it'll hit 5 targets in total for 150. So it's better in AoE. It's worse in single target. Okay? And then you still have Fusion of the Elements, and you still have Flux Melting. Okay? So it's better in AoE. It's probably just worse in single target. If you want to get a free Elemental Equilibrium proc, you can still take Ice Fury with Fusion of the Elements and get this. I think for the build that I was running with Farseer, this is actually a big buff to Mythic Plus. But again, in a raid scenario, this is a nerf, I would say, because it does less single target damage. Okay, Echo Chamber has been massively buffed. This right now gives us 10% more damage on our elemental overloads. It now goes to 40. The baseline elemental overload damage is 25%. It would now go to 65%. So again, like I said at the beginning, Blizzard is really focusing on elemental overloads being a primary source of your damage now. And I think this is going to continue to make Mastery an even better stat moving forward, because people think Mastery is dead now because of the way it got changed. That is just completely wrong. Mastery is in a fine place right now, and this is going to make it like way better. Okay. Primordial Wave has a new icon. It looks very cool. It also generates 3 Maelstrom. So they took away some Maelstrom generation in some other spots, but they gave us back some Maelstrom generation right here. Frost Shock, Flame Shock, and Primordial Wave now generate 3 Maelstrom. Liquid Magma Totem now generates 8 Maelstrom. So we are regaining a bunch of Maelstrom generation. And I don't think it means that Flame Shock generates 3 Maelstrom every time it ticks. I don't think that's what it means. If it does, that's completely broken. But I think it mostly just means that when you apply a Flame Shock, you're going to get 3 Maelstrom. When you apply Frost Shock, you're going to get 3 Maelstrom. When you apply Primordial Wave, you get 3 Maelstrom. Now, once again, the cleaving Frost Shock that we just talked about from Ice Fury, is that going to give us 3 Maelstrom per Frost Shock that hits? I'm assuming it will. So that would be 5 enemies times 3. That's 15 Maelstrom, which also means that's why they probably reduced the Maelstrom generation of Ice Fury itself. So that could be a huge source of Maelstrom now in an AoE situation. You fire off Ice Fury, you get 19 Maelstrom just from doing that. Okay. You get 12 Maelstrom from doing that. And then your Frost Shock will hit 5 targets and potentially give you 15 Maelstrom. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe it'll only give you 7 plus the 3 per target. Maybe it's just 7 plus 3 on one target, so it'll give you 10. So you'll get 22 Maelstrom from this, which is I think the exact same as the way it is right now. You get 22 Maelstrom. So maybe that makes sense. So either way, every time you press Frost Shock or Flame Shock or Primordial Wave, you're gonna get 3 Maelstrom, and then Liquid Magma Totem gives you 8 now. So really big bonuses there on the Maelstrom generation, which is great. Okay, Magma Chamber is the same. Okay. Echo the Elementals is the same. Nothing crazy going on here. I'm going to get rid of all these extra talents that I took. Now, Eye of the Storm is also the same. Now, our Lightning Rod has moved over here to the left, okay? It used to be down the middle. And Lightning Rod now has an additional talent right here called Charge Conduit. Increase the duration of Lightning Rod by 4 seconds and its damage bonus by 25. This is a huge deal, actually, because Lightning Rod right now lasts for 8 seconds. And it's really just not long enough, in my opinion. It should go for longer, and it's going to now. It's going to go for 12 seconds. Now, you do have to invest an entire talent point into that, so that's a little bit annoying, but the amount of extra damage you're going to get from Lightning Rod is going to go way up because it lasts longer, and now it's going to do more damage straight up. So your Lightning Rod damage, I think, will be much, much bigger, and this synergizes pretty well with things like Aftershock, right? You can take Aftershock, and you can get another spender to get another. Let's say you do an earthquake and you get a refresh, you can do another earthquake. Now you have 2 lightning rods out for 12 seconds doing extra damage. That's pretty cool to me. So I love this little change here. Mountains Will Fall is the same, and then Echo the Great Sundering is down here. It's the same. We have a new talent here called Erupting Lava. We're going to get to Ascendance in a second, I promise. Ascendance is the big change. Okay. Increase the duration of Flame Shock by 6 seconds. Lava Burst will consume 3 seconds of Flame Shock, instantly dealing that damage. This is really interesting. So, for me, my current Flame Shock, if I consumed 3 seconds of my current Flame Shock, that would be 28,000 damage. Okay? If every Lava Burst does this, and let's say you hit 6 targets, because that's the cap, right, on your Flame Shocks, 6 times 28,000 is 168,000 damage. So if you get that Primordial Wave, right, you do like a Liquid Magma Totem and you do a Flame Shock and a Primordial Wave and you get your 6 Flame Shocks and then you consume it and Primordial Wave sends out all those lava bursts, then you'll do an extra 168,000 damage, which isn't very much. But remember, every single lava burst is going to consume 3 seconds of the flame shock that you have on there, which is going to deal 28,000 more damage. Obviously that's going to scale as we get more item level and stuff, but over a longer course of time, that's going to end up being a lot of extra damage, actually, which is interesting. We'll have to see. Getting 6 extra seconds on flame shock is really nice, because that's kind of, your fire elemental is already going to give you double duration on your flame shocks. So maybe there's a whole like flame shock build that's going to go on here. We'll have to wait and see. I don't really know yet, right? Okay, here's the big change. Ascendance is completely different now. Transform into a flame ascendant for 15 seconds, instantly casting a flame shock and a 100% effectiveness lava burst at 6 nearby enemies. So it automatically applies flame shock and casts the lava burst afterwards. And as we just talked about, that will also consume part of those flame shocks to do extra damage. I do think that there's a very, very big build going on here with, you know, fire elemental, right? You pop fire elemental and then you instantly cast Ascendance and you get 6 flame shocks and 6 lava bursts. And then you go primordial wave and you press lava burst again and it goes boom, boom, boom again. So your initial meatball, the initial meatball swarm, right? It's just like the launching is going to be from Ascendance. You get a huge bunch of meatballs there, and then you press Primordial Wave, and you press Lava Burst again, and boom, you get another wave of Lava Burst. They are all consuming Flame Shock damage and dealing extra damage, but your Flame Shocks are lasting much longer, right? So very, very cool. I love this idea here. Now, here's the second part of it. When ascended, elemental overload damage is increased by 150%, and spells affected by mastery, elemental overload, cause 1 additional overload. This is insane. Again, I talked about them doubling down on our mastery on overload. This is it, guys. This is crazy strong. So any spell that overloads, which again doesn't just mean lava burst, I'm going to get to this in a second, but your spells that overload will overload an additional time, which is huge. Those elemental overloads are going to do way more damage now because of Echo Chamber, 65% instead of 25%, okay? And they, of course, generate additional Maelstrom, which is huge. So any kind of overload that you can get going here is going to be massive. That includes things like Chain Lightning or potentially things like your Stormkeeper Chain Lightnings, let's say, right? So you pop Ascendance, you get the big volley of Lava Burst, okay? You throw your Primordial Wave, you get a second volley of Lava Burst, and then you get your haste buff online. So you have a whole bunch of haste now, and then you start doing Chain Lightnings, or you do Stormkeeper right away. You have that maybe channel ready to go. You unleash your Chain Lightnings. They're going to overload an additional time. They're already going to overload an additional time from Stormkeeper. They're overloading another time from Ascendance. If you had something like Surge of Power, you could make your Chain Lightning hit an additional target. But in a single target situation, let's say, you have your single target Lightning Bolt that's going to overload an additional time from Stormkeeper. You get 2 more overloads from Surge of Power. That's 3 right now. And then if you're inside Ascendance, it's going to overload an additional time. If you're running Stormbringer, it's going to overload another time. Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning, it has a chance to overload again. You can have like 6 or 7 overloads on 1 Lightning Bolt inside Ascendance. So again, I wanted to highlight, once again, we're talking about hybridization here. We're bringing together the elements for Elemental Shaman. It isn't just about popping Ascendance and only pressing Lava Burst. This overload buff applies to anything that can overload. So it could be an Ice Fury overload. It could be a Chain Lightning. It could be Lightning Bolt. It could be Lava Burst, of course. It could be your Spenders. Mountains Will Fall, right? This also has synergy with Mountains Will Fall. Your Earthquake and Ellie Blast and Earthshock can all overload as well. And if they do, it'll be way, way more effective. Their damage will be much higher and they'll overload an additional time. Imagine if you throw an Earthquake down and it overloads and then because you're inside Ascendance, it overloads again. You now have 3 Earthquakes on the ground. That's insane. You could have like up to 10 Earthquakes on the ground if you keep getting like Aftershock procs on the Earthquake and it refreshes and you cast it again and then it overloads and then it overloads again because it's inside Ascendance. Like, you see what's happening here? It's overload inception. Like, it's really, really crazy. So this cooldown now is should probably end up being an integral part of every single build that you're going to run, whether you're doing lightning or fire, if you're trying to just do one or the other, or if you're hybridizing them together, if you're bringing them together. Ascendance will be at the core of what you're doing, no matter what build you're running now, which is fantastic news, in my opinion. That is great. We've probably needed this for a long time, where our main cooldown is actually usable no matter what build we're running. That is what's going to happen here. And that is very exciting news, right? Very, very exciting news. I think this is one of the coolest things that they've done in a long time. Now, they did get rid of Skybreakers, which used to be here, and I'm very sad about that because I loved the cooldown reduction we got on our Ellies. That is one theme that I'm noticing here, is that cooldown reduction on our elementals has gone down dramatically. Flash of Lightning used to give us cooldown reduction on our Storm Elemental, right? Because it's a nature spell, okay? Skybreakers used to give us cooldown reduction on our elementals, including our Storm Elemental. Every time our Flame Shocks would tick, they had a high chance of critting, and then it would reduce the cooldown of Storm Elemental. So I don't really understand what they're doing this way. Like, your Storm Elemental uptime or Fire Elemental uptime is going to be much less with this build. And I think it really drives you to have to take Surge of Power, potentially, if you want to get some cooldown reduction. Because Lava Burst reduces the cooldown of your Fire and Storm Elemental. So, like, if you don't have Surge of Power, you're basically getting no CDR on your elementals at all, unless I'm missing something from somewhere. Like, I've looked around all these talents, and there is no cooldown reduction that you get on your elementals. So that's a real big bummer, in my opinion. Like, that's a really big bummer. I don't really think that's a good idea at all. But because it forces you to take Surge of Power and reduces the power of Aftershock, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see what Blizzard says. This is a long way away. This is not till like November. So maybe they'll renege on some of this. Maybe they'll go back on some of it and make it so that you can get some cooldown reduction somewhere else. But either way, Ascendance is really cool now. Like, this is an incredibly incredibly interesting cooldown. The other parts of it, of course, are that you still have you can take 1 minute off the cooldown, so it becomes a 2-minute cooldown, or you can get a crazy amount of haste inside of the Ascendance cooldown, which might be actually ridiculous. You also get 3 more seconds. So imagine, like, if you had inside Bloodlust plus 25% haste from here and Bloodlust haste. Like, I don't even understand. You'd be able to cast so many spells so quickly, and the overloads would be overloading again, and they would be doing more damage. Like, it would be a massive amount of damage coming from your overload. So we'll have to see how that kind of works out. Deeply Rooted is still here. Now, Deeply Rooted has a massive change. It now triggers from Earthshock, Ellie Blast, or Earthquake, which, once again, this makes Deeply Rooted not just a fire build thing. It is now any build you want to run, you can run Deeply Rooted on, because triggering Ascendance is so critical to any build that you're running, in my opinion. So I think that you're going to want to take Ascendance and Deeply Rooted in so many different builds now, which is going to limit your talent choices, I would say, for sure. But this triggers off of your Earthshock, Ellie Blast, and Earthquake, and now it still only has a 7% chance to trigger. I feel like Blizzard, please, Blizzard, you need to buff that way up. Like, the amount of times that we could cast Lava Burst to try and trigger Deeply Rooted versus the amount of times we can cast our Earthshock or our Ellie Blast or Earthquake, like, it's not even close. It's not even close to the same thing. So the proc chance, I feel like, needs to be brought up to like 15% or something, maybe even higher, because the frequency with which you cast your spenders is much lower than the frequency with which you cast Lava Burst. So again, this does give Aftershock some more value, right? If you get a reset on your spender, you can cast it again and you have another chance of getting Deeply Rooted. So that's kind of cool. But either way, I think that Ascendance is going to become a core piece of every build that you're running on Ellie now, because it's just so strong. It's all about overloads now. It's not just about fire damage or lava burst damage. It's about overloads. That's all it's really about, is about giving you overloads. And every build loves overloads. So that's it. Those are all the talents that have really massively changed. The rest of them are the same as what they were. I think that I like the direction Blizzard is going here. I really do. I love the emphasis on overloads. I like the idea of bringing the elements together and making it so that you're not just casting fire spells or nature spells. That is really good. I like Ascendance being at the core of potentially every build that we're running. I don't like that we lost our cooldown reduction here. I think that is a huge L. I'm going to say it again because the Farseer build really relies on cooling down Primordial Wave and Ancestral Swiftness, and we're not going to be able to do that anymore. And it just makes me super sad. I don't like that at all. The other thing I'm not super in love with, I guess, is that we lost Skybreakers and cooldown reduction on our elementals. That would be the two things that I'm really worried about. We don't have cooldown reduction on our elementals. We don't have cooldown reduction from our Flash of Lightning anymore. Where are we getting that? Are we just not going to get that? Are our elementals really going to be a 2.5 minute cooldown? That seems awful to me. If we're not going to get any cooldown reduction from anywhere else, can we please make these elementals a 1 minute cooldown? They're only lasting for 20 seconds now. They're only lasting for 20 seconds instead of 30. I just don't understand why they're still 2.5 minutes on their cooldown. Like, I just think that needs to be brought down. So otherwise, I love the direction that they're going. I really love it, and I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Those are all the big changes for Elemental Shaman coming in the next patch, 11.0.5. Please remember, guys, remember, this is not happening for like several months, not till November. We're still going to have the regular tree that we have right now, but there are massive changes on the way. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much again for watching. I'm going to cover all the stuff that's coming in the 11.0.5 patch. There's a bunch of enhancement shaman changes too, so I'm going to get right on that. Thank you so much again for watching. I love you all. I will see you in the next one.